Well, I thought I'd better get back on screen here before all that scary music gets to you. I think I shut it off. Did I shut it off? What's that noise? Do you hear it? Oh, that's my persecution complex kicking in. Always something around me. Don't know what's happening. It's scary at times. I think the world or something out there seems like I'm against the whole world. Everybody's against me. You ever feel like that? That's the persecution complex that we're feeling. We brought it over from the org. You see, they they built that into us. If you were a JW before, you may have residuals of the persecution complex. We're going to look at that today. Persecution complex, what is it? And it goes along with our theme of taking in knowledge, gnosis, learning more about ourselves. And as we learn more about ourselves, we can undo some of this stuff, some of this persecution complex. Everyone's not against us. That's our own thought process. And we're going to talk about thought process on our next video. So stick with us. If you haven't subscribed, join the channel. We talk about a lot of good topics. Okay, so the meaning of persecution complex. People, this is from the Cambridge Dictionary, so it's not my words. People with a persecution complex suffer from the feeling that other people are trying to harm them. So just like in the picture there in our thumbnail that we built, we have a little JW kid with the Bible, JW org on it, and people pointing at him, and he feels persecuted. Why? Or are those fingers even real? You see, sometimes we walk into a room, I remember as a JW, and we think everyone's looking at us. We think it's all about us. Could be a bit of our narcissism, thinking that we're the only ones. That's how we used to think. Of course, we don't think that way anymore. I hope not. And but do we still think everyone's looking at us when we walk into a room? That could be persecution complex. JWs feel it. When you're a kid growing up as a JW, going to school, you feel it. You have to stand in the hallway while the other kids are in the classroom singing the Canadian, the anthem, doing some patriotic stuff, I guess. Or maybe they're doing coloring Halloween pumpkins. You're in the hallway. You're a JW kid. You feel persecuted. You see, the Jehovah's Witness religion makes and grows that feeling within the organization. It's all part of it. So they feel that way. So what are some of the symptoms? Persecution delusion symptoms are fearing ordinary situations, fearing them. You go to school as a kid, and it's the Christmas time, Christmas parties. You fear them. Or if you're at work and the employees throw on a Christmas party and they buy gifts for one another, little things, and you have to exclude yourself somehow. These are ordinary situations. There's nothing wrong with gift giving. There's nothing wrong with the season. These are JW thoughts. They made those things evil. In fact, Christmas time is a time that there's a lot of giving. There's a giving spirit, and it's a really good energy. We're going to talk about that next video again. Now, feeling threatened without reason, Jehovah's Witnesses all do. They feel threatened. Everywhere they go, we talked about that, right from school all the way through life. School, you get into the real world, and if you're working with non-Jehovah's Witnesses in an office or something, you feel threatened. It's the same as if you were at school again. Frequently reporting to authorities. This is part of the symptoms, right? Frequently reporting to authorities. So You see, JW.org has all of its members reporting every month their field service time. And then you have elders judging whether you put enough time in. Now they just check the box nowadays, but it's still, you're reporting in to them, and they're supposed to, the new rules are, they're supposed to monitor you as to how often you're out in the ministry. So you're frequently reporting to authorities. If you see something go down in the congregation, you're driving down the street and there's another member smoking, you report him to the authorities. You report him to the elders. And then this happened to one person I knew that was a JW. And what did he have? He had a white cigarette, or a white pencil. He was a carpenter. This is a red pencil. But he had it in his mouth like this, a white pencil. And so the JW was driving down the street, seen that pencil, and reported him to the elders. He was just a contractor. But this happens frequently, reporting to the authorities, to the elders. Extreme distress. We're going to show you the video. We're going to replay that little video clip that they're playing at all the 2024 conventions. And is that not a reason for some extreme distress? The signs coming down, JW.org, locking it up. The police have it all taped off as if there was a murder or something there, but it's shut down, and you're all meeting in book study groups. That's distress. The next one's excess worry, constantly seeking safety. Last year's district convention, they had guys with machine guns, and everyone getting their to-go bags and trotting off to this camp. Guys running around with machine guns. You want to talk about subjecting your children to some really extreme conditions. Like, these things are real. These JWs believe this stuff is happening. You see, the organization, JW.org, builds this. They build this because if they get the people in this persecution complex, guess what? They're easily controlled. Very easily to control. So that's what this is about, folks. This is about controlling people. What's an example of persecutory delusion? If I said that right, persecutory. People with this delusion believe that the harm is going to occur and that other people intend for them to be harmed. So if you're in Russia, JW in Russia, you're expecting to go to jail. In fact, you're kind of a hero if you go to jail. They build you out to be a little bit of a hero. People experiencing persecutory delusions may say things such as, my neighbor breaks into my house at night, steals my clothes out of my closet. Well, what did Jehovah's Witnesses say? The demons are in my closet last night. I got to go through the house, go through my things. What do I have that's worldly? I got to throw it out and get it out because I heard some noises in my closet. It's all about the demons in a JW household. Does a delusional person know that they are delusional? Good question, right? I could be delusional, I don't know it. The presence of delusions is the most obvious sign of delusional disorder. The presence of delusions. Do you have delusions? They may vary based on type, these delusions. Another characteristic of this condition is that the person often lacks self-awareness, and their delusions are problematic. So, in a JW world, the delusion is that God is only working, his energy is shining down to the governing body in Warwick, New York. It's the only place on earth God's working through. Well, they're saying Jesus now. That's a delusion. That's one of the biggest delusions that this organization paints. Or any other religious organization for that matter. Whether it's the Catholics and they're painting the Pope as that God's shining only through him and it's through him that his words count. The Mormons believe that too. You see, all of these religions are delusional. They have taught us to have this persecution complex, and they put us into this delusional state. And then with each religion comes all these other delusions with it. You know, like in the JW religion, that only 144,000 are going to go to heaven. You know, things like that. Where did they get that from? Well, it's their own narrative. It's their own fictional story. Every religion has it. But these are delusions. Okay, so what is it called when you make up stories in your head and you believe them? We all do them. We all do this to a certain degree. Now, if you do this a lot, check yourself. Do some work on yourself. This is a problem, and this is a JW problem. And we come out of the religion, we still carry these problems with us. So now we're going to look at this one. This is called confabulation. Confabulation. It's right there. Confabulation is the unintentional creation of false or distorted memories and facts. It's different from delusions and lying. And here's why you may want to take it seriously. Some psychologists call it confabulation. It's honest lying, because those who confabulate stories genuinely believe what they're saying. So it's a serious thing. So we're going to take a look at just a few examples of this so we can wrap our heads around confabulation and why is it a Jehovah's Witness issue. Now, it's a neuropsychiatric disorder. So it's a disorder wherein a patient generates a false memory without the intention of deceit. You know, Alzheimer's disease and some of the dementia patients have to deal with this. So this is a thing. But now we have healthy, young Jehovah's Witnesses confabulation. And how do they do it? Well, a good example, just straight out the gate to think about, is all of the legal stuff that's going on out there outside of the Jehovah's Witness. Well, it's all about the Jehovah's Witnesses. But now if you're inside the Jehovah's Witness religion, you are told that the media and everything outside is pretty much lies. Don't believe it. Only believe the 9 men in New York. You see, they're confabulating a story. You believe it. So you go out into the real world and you'll see bits and pieces of news articles, Norway and things like that. And you've already filled in the pieces. You've already adopted the narrative from the governing body, from Jehovah's Witnesses, from their leadership. So we end up generating these false stories. We don't have all the details. Now, that's one way you can confabulate. Now, another example of confabulation is when a person with gaps in their memory is asked to remember and describe the details of past events. Rather than responding that they do not know, the person's mind fills in missing details with confabulated memories of the event. So you could ask a Jehovah's Witness, well, what happened at Norway? And they're going to say, well, they're persecuting us. They're persecuting us in Norway. But you see, that's not the story. That's not the real story. It's just simply that JW.org could not check the box for their requirements to be called a charity religion in Norway. They couldn't check the box regarding child abuse. You see, that's serious, right? And it wasn't even the government. It was child welfare that flagged this and said, hey, wait a minute. We got this religion that we can't check the box on child abuse. They're forcing their children to die when it comes to a blood transfusion. Child abuse. You know, that's one of them. So it's very simple. So they can't check the box. They're not willing to change. They were given all this time and warning to change. They wouldn't change. In fact, they get up and they say, we're not going to change. You know, they tell the whole world that. And you guys are persecuting us, you see. It's persecution. They're building a persecution complex into the people. So they're confabulating. They're confabulating. They're filling in blanks, details that aren't real. You're not being persecuted in Norway. You can go door to door. You can do whatever you want there as a religion. The doors aren't padlocked. The government doesn't care. But JW.org simply doesn't get the money. They just don't get the money. So when you don't get the money, they're like a child. They confabulate all these ideas and they make their people believe that they're being persecuted. Persecution complex. So this is a small example of what's happening all over the world. So what triggers it? Well, there's various causes. Like we said before, it could be memory disorders, neurological injuries, mental health conditions, and even normal reconstructive processes of memory. So we're leaning on that one. The governing body, they weren't in an accident, anything. This is normal reconstructive processes of their memories. They're confabulating. They're building their own story. So what is a narcissistic confabulation? Here's the point to take home today. In an attempt to compensate for the yawning gaps in memory, narcissists and psychopaths confabulate. They invent plausible plugins and scenarios of how things might, could, or should have plausibly occurred. And to outsiders, these fictional stopgaps appear as lies. To outsiders. Now, to insiders, they appear that these guys are gods. So, to the insiders, the Jehovah's Witnesses insiders, you see the governing body, they invent plausible plugins or scenarios of how Armageddon's going to happen. These are plausible plugins. They're not real. They invent. These are inventions, folks. It's going to happen this way. It's going to happen that way. We say this because the Psalm says this. These are inventions. All of their stuff, we have so many videos on it, but when we dig into the doctrine of this religion, it's invented to make you all feel good. You see, there's a paradise ahead of us, and we keep focusing on the prize. They tell you that in lots of talks. In fact, there's scriptures that talk about that, focus on the prize. And I agree. We're going to talk in our next video about what we think about happens. But the problem being a Jehovah's Witness is they don't have you focusing on the prize. They do and they don't. Let's show you why. When you walk into the assembly this year, here's what you see. We're going to take you over to a video here, and I think we covered everything on confabulation. There's a lot on it. It leads into gaslighting as well. You know, confabulation plays a role in many central situations of gaslighting. So both the perpetrator and the victim of gaslighting will, as a result of the perpetrator's gaslighting behavior, often confront cognitive dissonance that they are motivated to resolve ill-grounded ways amounting to confabulation. So a lot of big words there, perhaps. These are new words to wrap your mind around. For me, it has been. But this is confabulating, making up things, gaslighting. You see, these narcissists that are running this organization, they know what they're doing. In fact, we played one of their videos where they say fear. They can control people with fear. So how do you best respond to confabulation? You know, if you're a JW, even an ExJW, because as ExJWs, you might be living with a JW. You might be outside, not going anymore, but all your family are in there and you just kind of faded away. So how do you deal with all this stuff? You know, they're harassing you, they're calling you, come back, come back. Well, often the best response to confabulation in dementia is to join the person in their reality rather than attempting to correct and point out the truth. I thought that was interesting. Like in dementia, right? You can't fix it. Some of this stuff you can't fix, folks. So doesn't mean that you're really joining it. You're just going on a trip with them for a bit, and you know, maybe the JWs come over and, oh yeah, Armageddon's coming this time for sure it's coming. The governing body says we got to go to book study groups and lock up our homes. It's here. So you can just play with it a bit if you want. You can't change it. They have to change it themselves. So is confabulation lying? You know, you sit down with some JWs. No, there's no way what you're saying is right in Norway. They're against us. They're persecuting us. We'll read a little bit of bitter winter here in a bit. they confabulate. Is it lying? Well, but less commonly because of underlying neurological issues, people will generate false memories with no intent to deceive. They don't. You see, the JW's intent isn't to deceive. So the medical term for this is confabulation, because the person believes what they are saying. The term honest lying. It's also used to describe this phenomena. So there's a lot of research being done on this, folks. It's interesting, and it's these religions that give us this research. So let's just look at this, hate crimes. I'll put it on the screen here. This is Bitter Winter. It's really easy to look at some of this stuff when you know what they're doing. They're confabulating. They're hired by JW.org to put this stuff together. So you might run into some of this. Bitter Winter has over 280 articles for Jehovah's Witnesses, trying to defend them. We ran a little bit of a video on Bitter Winter. Massimo, he also works with the Vampire Association, which is kind of ironic that Jehovah's Witnesses have this whole preservation of blood, but here this guy's working with the whole Vampire Association, so he doesn't have an issue with that. He also defends Scientology and other cults all over the world, so that's what he does, Massimo. And they have him on their website. They're very proud of him, and they use him to write these types of articles. So it's confabulation. So I just went down a little bit. My good wife brought some of this stuff out. They talk about these two girls. They don't really name where, but these two girls got harassed and kicked and grabbed, pulled by the hair. Two witness girls. And they're saying, yeah, okay, you guys are persecuting us. My good wife says, well, women have been persecuted forever. Like the women. It's just recently women are gaining more prominence. So if we're just talking about women persecution, it's been happening forever. The two girls in the Kingdom Hall, well, of course you're going to run into a few JWs getting persecuted. Or women. This is women. Two females. They're visiting a housing complex when a man in his 30s verbally assaulted them. Now, I've been a Jehovah's Witness for a long time, 30 years, going door to door with lots of the sisters. And what happens? Sisters are sometimes pushy. So let's say you're calling in a complex, and the other problem is Jehovah's Witnesses call too damn often. Some places are calling every 3 months. So you call in a complex, the guy's in there, he's working night shifts, he's trying to sleep, and you got these JWs, bang, 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 bang. They don't quit, they do 3 times. The guy hears it. You ring the doorbell. You're only supposed to ring the doorbell once or twice. And then, just in case the doorbell doesn't work, bang, 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 bang. Some brave Jehovah's Witnesses will go around back and bang, 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 even look. Why? Because they're trying to save their life. The bridge is out. You guys are going to die at Armageddon. It's right around the corner. I'm here to save your life. I told you guys last time I work night shifts. Don't call on me during the day. You woke me up. Now I can't go to sleep. You guys have done this. So a week goes by, every 3 months, right? So let's say they're bang, 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 bang. I've had this. You don't get someone at home. They ignore you. They're working night shift. So what do Jehovah's Witnesses do? Oh, they're not at home. We got to try different times. So they start harassing that house at different times. They might put this in their little trip. They're going out in the ministry, and let's grab that house again. It's been a not at home forever. Well, here the guy is there, working night shift, trying to sleep, and he's so pissed off, he comes out and he's violent. This is a guy in the 30s, so he's not that experienced in life, a 30-year-old. I can see that happening. And this is the kind of stuff that Bitter Winter wants to throw at us. There's 2 sides to every story, folks. You see, Bitter Winter doesn't allow us to go and really look at what really happened there behind the scenes. Let's talk to the guy. Let's talk to what happened. Let's talk to the guy that was violent. Why was he violent? You see, most people are provoked. Most people are provoked. Jehovah's Witnesses provoke people by calling on their doors so many times. You see, if you're not at home, they'll try you. Maybe that week they got the territory circuit overseers coming. They want to look righteous in front of the circuit overseers, so you want to get your territory completed. You might go and call, and they're telling you from the platform to call at different hours. Basically, they're telling you to harass that person at different hours. And if you don't have a do not call, Jehovah's Witnesses, do not call on your door, they will keep harassing you. And that's why these incidences happen, folks. So Bitter Winter tries to use it to make it look like Jehovah's Witnesses are victims of violence. I'm sorry. That poor guy that's trying to sleep and work night shift, he's a victim of Jehovah's Witnesses door-knocking abuse. And that's a fact. I was one. I was a part of that. So I can say that with surety. Okay, let's move on. What does Bitter Winter have to say about Japan? Oh yeah, well, Japan is going against them, and from the government. You see, they're really going after Japan, the Bitter Winter, right? For Jehovah's Witnesses, of course. And they're saying that they're being assaulted in Japan. Well, it could happen. You see, Japan's one of those countries, if you do the backstory again, Bitter Winter doesn't. They're just looking at their cult. They're also defending the Unification Church in Japan. And if you've been following Japan, well, the Unification Church was going to pull all the assets out in Japan, said, nope. We're stealing we're seizing these assets, and we're going to pay out victims. You've got too many victims, child abuse, and everything else that JW.org has too. So JW.org is now up next, and so now all of a sudden, JW.org's being attacked. They're being abused. People are doing that, and it could happen. This hits mainstream, and the Japanese people find out they have these cults. And the cults are actually signing over their kingdom halls and all their assets to Warwick, New York. And then if there's a disaster anywhere in Japan, all the money gets sent to New York. And they'll determine how many bottles of water they send out to the hurricane zone. You see. This is how JW.org works. Japan says, no, that's not how it's going to work in our country. And among other countries are making a stand. So Bitter Winter, they wanted to. We're being attacked. Our religious freedoms are being attacked. Well, when you send the Japanese kids, these little infants, into these assemblies, and they have to miss school to watch guys being chased, witnesses being chased down by machine guns and stuff like that, and this is how they're propagating their religion. We're being attacked by the governments. The Japanese government is attacking us at school, won't allow us to do our freedom. You see, you become a persecution complex. You have a persecution complex. You're training your kids to have that. Japan doesn't want that. So they're doing something about it. So Bitter Winter goes on to talk about all kinds of stuff. They get into the legalities of different things and sins and repentant, and they get right into the Bible. You got a vampire guy that's pushing the Bible on us, and he's going to teach us a thing or two about what the Bible says, and how this affects JW.org. Well, I'm sorry, I don't buy it. I just see this as confabulation. These guys are just confabulating, filling in little pieces, putting enough in there to help build a persecution complex. All of these cults are going to have persecution complex. So what do we have? We're going to have the government is going to be taxed with health bills, caring for people, helping people to get out of this. So this leads to something else. Confabulation leads to what they call Korsakoff syndrome. It's a memory disorder that results from vitamin B1 deficiency, and it's associated with alcoholism. And that's another problem we find within JW.org is a lot of the elders, a lot of the members drink a lot of alcohol. And there's, I know from experience, being in 7 congregations. Well, heck, the guy that studied with me when I first started brought over a bottle of wine for the study. And he was suffering persecution complex, an old guy. His wife wouldn't even sleep with him. His wife was a non-JW. They didn't, and she wouldn't divorce him. He was being persecuted. He used to tell me about it. I just didn't know anything about it. I was 18. But he drank. And this is what I noticed all the way through. Lots of problems. So they call it Korsakoff syndrome. It's a thing associated with alcoholism. And it damages the nerve cells and the supporting cells in the brain and the spinal cord, as well as part of the brain involved with memory. So something to be careful with, I think, as ExJWs. If you're watching this channel, you're obviously not a practicing full-blown JW. You're looking at things. Congratulations for looking at them. And let's end up here. I'm going to show you just how they're pushing the confabulation. So you're going to the assembly this year. This is 2024. Here it is. We'll play it, put it up on the big screen, and I'll get off here. So here it is. Here's how they're confabulating. It starts out right there. They're taking off the sign, JW org. It's taped up. That's like it's a crime zone. And you'll see in the next scene that the doors are padlocked together, and the fear. So this is a convention of fear. So here it is. We'll run with
Listen to Jesus in these troublesome days. He lights up my path as I hear and obey. He is the fine shepherd and he shows me the way. He guides every step, never leads me astray. Why should I ever listen to voices in opposition, those who would make me stray from the path I'm on today? To whom could I go away? Where could I turn in times of trouble? To whom could I go away? The voice of the stranger leads only to danger. It's Jesus' words I hear and obey. Secure and contented with my place in his care, surrounded by love in the faith that we share. I look to the future that Jehovah provides. His Son is my Savior with sayings of life. I will never voices in opposition. Why would I ever stray from the path I'm on today? To whom could I go away? where could I turn in times of trouble? To whom could I go away? The voice of the stranger leads only to danger. It's Jesus' words I hear and obey.
Okay, so hey, there's two of us on the screen now. You'll see this video on the thumbnail there. I just did this one about a week ago and I kind of broke it apart. But I'm going to talk about it a little bit different today. We just played that video, that song. And this is what they're playing at the convention. There's a lot of information they're packing into this song here. And it's interesting. Just hold on for a second. I'll put it on. Okay, yeah. So when we look at it, I just got it turned off. They start with this anthem-like music. So the anthem-like music, it really captures the audience, and gets the emotion going. It's all about the strangers being careful of danger. Strangers in danger, you know, they get that in your mind. They repeat it over and over. You know, so here the kingdom halls are locked up. They got the kingdom halls locked up, but I didn't think Jehovah's Witnesses were supposed to watch the news, but this lady's watching the news, and she's reacting right off the news. I thought the news media was false. They're supposed to get a letter or something from the elders or from Bethel, but here, when you see it on the news that the kingdom halls are being locked up, it's time to flee. It's time to pack your bags. And it's time to go and be careful because they're after you. Like this young man here, they pick some nice actors, nice looking actors. But this young man, he's going to get some people. And he gets pulled over. He thinks the cops are after him. And that's persecution complex, folks. These guys all have persecution complex. They're all fleeing. And he gets pulled over by the police. There's a lady on the bus. The police are on the bus. Looking for Jehovah's Witnesses? Come on, that's persecution complex. Unless you're in Russia and you're actively preaching and going against and breaking the law, which JW.org gets their people to do, there could be some real persecution in Russia. But all over the world, this is persecution complex. We're not Russia. Norway is not Russia. No one is watching them. They can preach all they want. They can have kingdom halls. They just don't get the money. That's because they can't check the box. They don't qualify. That's all it is. But here, they're making it look like they're being persecuted. The whole assembly is about persecution complex. So we could talk about that forever, folks. But if you feel like the world is against you, and it's all pointing at you, you could be suffering from persecution complex. You come out of a religion that trains I call them victims, but trains the audience, that it captures to have this. And how do they do it? Well, they use confabulation. You know, it's a form of putting in suppositions and things and making it look real. But you see, from the outside world, they look at this and they said, really? So, yeah, we were all fooled. So that's all we can say. It's interesting when we uncover this and little bits and pieces, and we see especially how they're programming. They're continuing to use the confabulation and the persecution complex to control people. You see, when people are fearful, they're easily controlled. And we're going to end up with that. I'm going to play that for you just to keep reminding you that the governing body knows what they're doing. So until next time, folks, keep living your life with love. See you on the next video.
Set free from what? Paul says, from the slavery to the fear of death. Now, why is that significant? You see, people who are in fear of death are constantly afraid. And as a result, they can be manipulated and controlled.
Well, we don't want to let JW org control us with fear, do we? So, let's not be fearful. Okay, we'll see you later. Bye for now.